So this is a hot take. Jason is the bad guy. Other than Vecna, Jason is the main villain. He's the main person getting in their way. He's constantly causing problems for them. He actually rounds up a posse of people and gets them to hunt down a group of children because he thinks that they're devil-worshipping Satanists who are trying to summon a demon. And while he's giving this speech, the police are rolling their eyes, like they're not the ones that put the idea in his head that a Satan-worshipping high school student murdered his girlfriend. He's dumb, he's self-centered, and he's arrogant. But I still say he did nothing wrong. And I can prove why. Although at first, Jason seems like an absolute maniac, seems like a major villain, if you look at the circumstances around what he did and why he did it, it's actually very understandable. First of all, his girlfriend goes missing. And everyone knows that somebody has died. There's a good chance it's his girlfriend. But he doesn't know that. He doesn't know that for certain, so he can't do anything. He's not going to take action. Until he talks to the police. And the police imply so heavily that not only is it his girlfriend that was killed, but that she was killed in such a brutal way that they can't even show the body to her family. And then they go even further and put the idea in his head that it was Eddie who did it, even though they didn't know that. They didn't have any proof. They just had circumstantial evidence. And while he's giving this speech, the police are rolling their eyes. They don't even know how she was killed. But they still don't even try to convince him that it wasn't Eddie. As soon as he says, was it Eddie? They just look at each other. Like, whatever message is he supposed to get from that? So, Jason is put in a position where his girlfriend, he believes, has been killed brutally by Eddie. And so naturally he wants to find Eddie, who's gone on the run. Anyone in that situation would want to do exactly the same thing. If you say you wouldn't, you're lying. If somebody did that to somebody you were dating, you would absolutely want to go out and find them. But people keep getting killed. They get killed in messed up ways. And he literally sees someone floating into the air and getting killed with some sort of magic powers. Now at this point, you cannot blame him for thinking that Eddie Munson is using some kind of devil power. When Eddie is being chased, this guy literally gets brought up into the air, his arms twisted and then killed. If you saw that, you would be convinced that some sort of devil worshipping was going on and that it was caused by Eddie, because it happens to him right when he's being chased. If you see something like that, there's no way you don't believe that Eddie is doing this. And then if you're convinced that Eddie is doing this, you're going to be convinced that the people protecting him are also a part of this. And then everything you heard about the D&D club being Satan-worshipping cult, it's going to sound a lot more realistic. Now it's easy to say, oh, how could he possibly believe that D&D club was a Satan-worshipping cult? That's ridiculous. But it's not like they had the internet back then. He can't just go online and look up this information and see what a D&D club really is. The only thing he has to go off is what other people tell him, what he reads in magazines and newspapers, which he makes very clear are telling him that it's a satanic cult. And at the time, there was no concept of fake news. People had a lot more trust in the media, in journalism. People trusted it a lot more. People trusted it much, much more. If everything you look at tells you that D&D is just a cover for Satan worshipping, it's very likely you're going to believe it, especially a young guy like him, who's just going to be more gullible because of his youth and his inexperience and the fact that everyone around him is telling him this. Who is he going to believe? Everyone who's saying the same thing, or a small group of people that seem to be protecting a murderer. Obviously you're going to believe everyone over a small group of people protecting a murderer. And when you consider what he actually believed, what the world around him had convinced him of, that this guy was killing people in brutal ways, that he had killed his girlfriend, and that they were using devil powers to do it. All of a sudden everything he does seems a lot more reasonable, and his emotional state also is a lot more understandable. If I believed that was going on where I lived, it's hard to imagine I'd be behaving in a more noble way than he is. Most of us just aren't capable of that. We just aren't. Jason ended up dying in a pretty horrific way. But I'm not sure he really deserved it. If you look at Jason, he's a lot like how Steve started. Steve started off as a bit of a dick, a bit of a bully. But then, because he met Nancy, he had the right influences, he ends up becoming a better person and ultimately becoming an asset to the team rather than a bad guy. If Steve had worse influences, he could have easily ended up like Jason. I think if Jason had better influences, he could have ended up like Steve. But Jason didn't have a Nancy. So instead of ending up like Steve, he ends up like this. And I'm not sure he deserved it. But what do you think? Do you think he deserved what he got? Or do you think otherwise? Let me know in the comments below.